The Chinese Grand Prix is over and F1 is moving to the United States for the Miami Grand Prix, and it is once again a sprint race weekend, which means that it is time for my preview and predictions. This is a series where I'll be previewing, and then at the end of the video I'll be giving out my early predictions for the Grand Prix. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. Now, let's get straight into the video. As usual, I'll be talking about the top 5 teams later on, which is Aston Martin, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari and Red Bull, so stick around for that. Yes, it is time for the first of 3 trips to the United States this year, and it starts in Miami, where it will be yet another sprint race. And for the first time, the sprint race will be held at the Miami circuit, meaning that once again there will only be one practice session before sprint qualifying, which will set the grid for the sprint race, and then on Saturday it will be the sprint race in the morning before Grand Prix qualifying, and then of course on Sunday it will be the main Grand Prix itself. The weather in Miami is well known for being completely unpredictable, as one moment it could be blistering sunshine, and then 5 minutes later there could be a tropical thunderstorm, and if there is any random thunderstorm during one of the main sessions, then the weekend could be thrown into absolute chaos, and the running order could be completely mixed up, like we saw in Shanghai during the sprint qualifying. The Miami circuit is typically ran with lower to medium downforce, as the circuit features plenty of flat out sections and long straights. In the first sector, there are also some corners which are very fast flowing, but there are bumps which can catch drivers out, like we saw last year with Charles Leclerc as he crashed in qualifying during Q3. The low downforce and high speed nature of the circuit means that teams such as Aston Martin and potentially Haas could be in a better position this weekend, as they have great straight line speed. However, of course, for Haas, they are lacking some overall downforce, so they could be weaker in the high speed corners. Teams though, like Alpine, could be in for a difficult weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are the slowest team this weekend. Pirelli will once again be bringing the medium range tyres, meaning that the C2 will be the hard tyres, the C3 will be the medium tyres, and the C4 will be the soft compound of tyre. And last year, there was a total of 20 pit stops, as all of the drivers did a one stop using the medium and the hard tyres. There were a couple that started on softs, but then they went to hards until the end of the Grand Prix. Tyre wear was very low last year, and I anticipate that it will be more of the same thing this year, and we will see the drivers do a one stop using the medium tyres and then going to the hard tyres to finish the race. The Miami circuit is also one of the better tracks on the calendar when it comes to overtaking, despite the lack of tyre wear and despite the way that the Miami Grand Prix is actually presented. And you can see that as last year there was a total of 62 on-track overtakes. To help with overtaking, the Miami circuit features 3 DRS zones. One down the pit straight into turn 1, the second DRS zone is on the run from turn 9 all the way to the heavy turn 11 braking zone, and the final DRS zone is on the very long back straight on the run into the heavy braking zone at turn 17. There are plenty of overtaking opportunities at this circuit and heavy braking zones for the drivers to send it on the brakes. Last year's pole position lap time was a 1:26.841, and that was set by Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. During that lap, Perez reached a top speed of 340 km per hour at the end of the back straight. During the race itself, Max Verstappen set the fastest lap, and that lap time was a 1:29.708, and that was set on the penultimate lap of the race. This year, I expect that we should see the pole position lap time being beaten, and the race lap could be beaten if someone does box for a set of tyres towards the end of the race. I just want to say that if you are enjoying the video so far, then I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. Now though, let's get back to the video and let's talk about the top 5 teams, starting with Aston Martin. For Aston Martin, the Chinese Grand Prix was once again all about Fernando Alonso dragging everything out of the car, despite a not so great strategy by the Aston Martin team. For his teammate Lance Stroll, it was once again a race to forget, as he ran right into the back of Daniel Ricciardo under the safety car, which pretty much ended both his and Ricciardo's chances of scoring any points. Going into the Miami Grand Prix, I think Aston Martin could be in a good position to actually compete and beat their main rivals Mercedes. Although for that to probably happen, Lance Stroll will need to actually perform for once. The lower downforce nature of the Miami circuit should suit this new Aston Martin and their higher top speed. The recent upgrades have brought some potential for that car in a straight line, and we see that now race in and race out. And we could see Alonso once again take the fight to at least one of the McLaren cars as well, as he probably builds the Great Wall of Fernando to defend them if they are faster in the race. For Mercedes, the Chinese Grand Prix was really a bit of a disaster for them. The sprint race looked great for Lewis Hamilton as he finished in second place, but come the Grand Prix itself, everything fell apart. George Russell was not really that fast, and he only beat Piastri due to the damage Piastri suffered after being collected by the Stroll and Ricciardo incident. And teammate Lewis Hamilton had a tough race. He was lucky to score points in the Grand Prix, showing just how difficult the race was for him, and I think Miami could be another difficult race for them. They are lacking some top speed, but not only that, in Sector 1 at the high speed corners, I'm not sure they will be able to perform, and I think we will see them being the 5th fastest team this weekend, and I fear that we will see one of their drivers dropping out in Q2. For George Russell, he is very much having the edge over his teammates, but teammate Lewis Hamilton managed to show his skills in the wet sprint qualifying. However, when it came to the dry qualifying, we really got to see how much he is struggling with that car. And because of that, I do think he will be eliminated in Q2 at Miami. For McLaren, the Chinese Grand Prix was a fantastic race and result for Lando Norris, as not only did he finish in second place, but he also beat the Ferraris on pure pace. The McLaren looked very strong around Shanghai, and Norris had the pace of the Ferrari all race long. Going into Miami, they will be riding a high when it comes to the momentum. However, I don't think McLaren will be as strong as Ferrari here. They have great high-speed downforce, which will help them, and we've already seen that at previous races this year, such as Australia and Suzuka. However, what we have also seen is that the McLaren is a little bit more draggy and a little slower in a straight line than their rivals. Also, out of the very slow corners, McLaren are usually a little bit weaker. And sadly for them, Miami features a lot of slow speed corners and also a lot of long straights. With this in mind, I can see them being the 3rd fastest team with Lando Norris, and teammate Piastri could be involved in a very good fight with Fernando Alonso and maybe even George Russell in the Mercedes. For Ferrari, the Chinese Grand Prix was really their worst result of the year, as they were beaten on pace by McLaren for the first time really. But I expect they will be back to being the 2nd fastest in Miami. The circuit characteristics suit their car nicely, and given they have a tyre wear edge over a lot of the competition, I wouldn't be surprised if they can overcut the rest and run the mediums deeper into the race whilst maintaining the pace. For Charles Leclerc, he finally got on top of his issues and managed to beat Carlos Sainz in both the Grand Prix and the sprint race. This for Leclerc is going to be a big boost, as Sainz did have his number for the early part of the season. The question is though, can Charles Leclerc keep it up and assert himself as the number 1 driver in the team? For teammate Sainz, Shanghai was a bit of a disappointing race. He struggled for tyre wear compared to his teammates in both races and generally looked a little bit off. With Miami being another sprint, it will be interesting to see if the same thing happens again. If so, we might see Norris get involved with at least one of the Ferraris in this race, and possibly that could be Carlos Sainz. And finally, for Red Bull, they were looking very, very strong in China. Max Verstappen lapped the circuit faster than 2nd, 3rd and 4th place for every single lap in the Grand Prix, which is pretty incredible, and given how he was in Miami last year, I anticipate that it will be yet another dominant display by the world champion. Teammate Perez had a less impressive race, and due to a poor time safety car, he lost out to Lando Norris. Given how Red Bull were here last year, I anticipate that it could be another very strong performance by them, and they will leave the rest of the competition fighting for 3rd place, but I don't expect Perez to be able to fight Max Verstappen this weekend. So with that in mind then, what are my early predictions for the Miami Grand Prix? Well, I think the fastest midfield team and midfield driver will be Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas car, as I expect the Haas car to be very, very fast in a straight line, and I expect them to use that to their advantage. Also, tyre wear is very, very low in Miami, which is not going to hurt them at all. But what about the rest of the field when it comes to the top 5 and pole position? Well, I think for pole position, sadly it's a little bit boring, but it will be Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. But what about the top 5? Well, I think that in P5 it will be Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. P4 will be Lando Norris in the McLaren. P3 will be Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. P2 will be Sergio Perez. And yes, Max Verstappen will probably win and absolutely dominate the Miami Grand Prix. But those are my thoughts. The question is, what do you guys think? In the comment section down below, let me know. And as always, comment, leave a like, and subscribe for more F1 content. Thank you all so much for watching.